Hello, Gateway Fellowship. This is Ralph Corum with an emphasis on missions. About 3 months ago, 28 of us made a trip down to Mexicali, Mexico. And as many of you remember, we asked prayer because we ran into trouble getting to Mexico. There was a freak snowstorm, and many of us, it took us 18 hours of driving, and some of us actually more than a day of driving. But we finally made it to Mexico, to Mexicali, and to meet our missions man there, Gil Blanco, and his wonderful staff. They were great. They took great care of us, and we had a wonderful time with them. Some of the highlights of our trip was on our first day, Gil took us all the way across town to a little village that they had just helped to start a new church. In fact, the church, many of you might have remembered, was called the Pallet Church because it had been built with wooden pallets. But when we got there, fortunately, with the help of many churches and our own, they had actually built a new church and a living place for this couple who had actually spent 6 months living in their car to help start this church. So it was a really exciting time for us. We got to pray over them and encourage them, and we were encouraged just by hearing their story. The second day we were there, we got to go to the new church that Pastor Gil Blanco had started with his staff, and had a wonderful time of worship that morning. Pastor Mike shared the message and actually had all of us, after he shared his testimony, had us break up into groups and share testimonies with everyone in the church. Interesting fact about the church, most of the people that attended the church were teenagers. And I remember the testimony of one 13-year-old teenager. Her name was Chloe. It was an amazing testimony. She came from a home where her father and mother were divorced. Her father was in jail. Her mother was on drugs. Her brother had been killed. And at 13 years of age, she had just had a miscarriage. She had no hope for her life, but when she came to the church, she found Jesus, and she said in her testimony that now she finally had some hope. We had a wonderful time. We started that night, our VBS, for 3 nights in a row, meeting many of the children in the community. It was a very poor community, and the building that they had started worshiping in was an old store. And that they had made up into a worship center. We had a ball with all the kids that came for 3 nights in a row. We held a VBS and got to know the children very well, and sang together, worshiped together, shared the stories of Jesus. It was really a great time together. And then one of the other highlights of our trip was our time when we went downtown Mexicali to one of the parks and helped minister to homeless people. 2 days in a row, we would fix up food, and we would go down to the park. And that first day we went out and met with different people, and through translators we would share our testimonies and encourage them to know Jesus. Then we would pass out food and share testimonies with the whole group. There was about 50 of them that first day that we went, but we went the next day and there was over 100. We brought a lot of clothing and again fed almost over 100 people, and had a wonderful time. I remember seeing one young boy actually, holding his bag of white socks that he had got. He was so excited to receive them, and we got to share our testimonies with the whole group and encourage them to accept Jesus, and it was a wonderful time together. So together we were there for 4 days, and the 28 of us, and had a wonderful trip. I would encourage you to come this next year, to plan to be a part of our trip to Mexicali this coming year, where we can connect, grow, and serve together as a church. So thank you, Gateway, for sending us, for all you gave to us. And so we just give praise to the Lord in Jesus' name.